Hey, Downtimers, one of the things that I've been asked here recently by different DMs and players too is how I know how to adjust challenge for my players. Well, the first thing you need to understand is I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for almost 40 years as a player and as a GM and DM in various games, mostly D&D. And one thing that you have to understand is a good DM and a good GM have one thing in common. They're both good CMs. And that's a challenge master. So when I say someone is really good at adjusting and making the challenge level appropriate for their players in any given situation, I like to say they're a challenge master. So every good DM should be a good challenge master. Every good GM, no matter what game you're playing, you need to know how to provide appropriate challenge for your players. Obviously, when people ask me, how do you do this? It's not going to be a very short answer. It's a complicated question. So there's going to be, kind of a lengthy and possibly a little bit complicated response. So in order to properly answer this question, I've decided to do a series of videos that hopefully will line out the basics of what I like to consider the main points of being a good challenge master. But I guess the first question we have to ask is why? So why do we need to figure out and adjust? Why can't we rely on charts? Why can't we rely solely on challenge rating? Why can't we rely on what the books say and what websites say? And why can't we plug in numbers and expect an online website to tell us what kind of goblins, what level goblins we're supposed to use or whatever? Why can't we just go by that instead of actually adjusting according to what we think the challenge level should be for our players? And it's really because of what Mr. Spock said. He said that human beings are emotional creatures, and I tend to agree with that. And no matter what you do as a GM or DM or CM, you're going to elicit some sort of emotional feeling from your players. So they're going to feel bored on one side of the spectrum. On the other side of the spectrum, they're going to feel frustrated. So you hope to aim for somewhere in between those two, right? So we don't want our players to be bored. So we don't want the challenge level to be too low or too easy. And we certainly don't want our players to be frustrated. And we don't want them to have a lot of TPKs, right? We don't want a lot of player characters dying, right? That's frustrating. We don't want a lot of, whole parties and whole teams dying, total party kills. We don't want that either. If we have a lot of character deaths, and a lot of players hitting brick walls, basically, we'll have a lot of frustration. I would imagine, I've never actually witnessed this, but I would imagine a player would be very frustrated if they were to find that every time they had an encounter, every time they had a puzzle, every time they had any sort of challenge within a game, their GM or DM would provide too much challenge for them. So there's a lot of things that go into how we need to adjust this, and it's for the benefit of our players. We don't want them to feel, like they're depressed or sad or frustrated or just not really having fun, right? Anytime a player comes to my table, I want them to have a good time. So we want players to feel accomplished, successful, excited. We want them to experience suspense in the story, suspense in their encounters with enemies and with puzzles and with maybe solving a mystery or whatever. We want them to be intrigued. We want to pique their curiosity. And you can't do that if you're providing too much of a challenge, and you can't do it if you're not providing very much of a challenge either. If you have the appropriate challenge level for your players, they will take pride in their PCs and their stories. In these suspenseful interactions or suspenseful challenges that have been laid before them, it will be exciting for them to overcome those challenges. And then they'll feel successful and accomplished. And once they feel successful and accomplished, like they've really beaten the odds and barely escaped the jaws of death, things of that nature, once they feel that way, again, no matter what you do as a CM, you're going to elicit emotional responses. You're going to have feelings from your players. So these are positive feelings, right? So this is what we want. So once they do those things, then they'll have pride in what they've done, and they'll have pride in their characters. And whether their characters are heroes or really awesome wicked villains or whatever. They'll have pride in them, and they'll have stories because of their accomplishments, and that will evoke even more pride, and it will actually give meaning to the game, and it'll actually give meaning to the character that they've created and you've helped to build a story behind, and help create a story around some of these characters based off their accomplishments. So appropriate challenge level can add a lot of meaning to the game. Obviously, we want our players to feel like they have meaning. The characters have meaning. There's a real solid reason why they're doing this. They're not just doing this for XP or GP, right? Hopefully you guys have and we're going to get a little bit deeper into all this stuff later, but most people, when they sit down to play a game, a role-playing game, they're looking for some sort of meaning. They want, to storm the castle for a real reason. They want to defend the castle for a real reason, not just because we want to be rich or because we want to kill stuff, because we want to level up and get more powerful. Hopefully your players are looking for more meaning than that. So if you provide the appropriate challenge level for them, they will gain a lot of meaning out of the story, and they'll have a lot of meaning attached to their character, which in turn will elicit all sorts of positive emotional responses from your players, and they'll keep coming back for more. That's why we're doing this, right? For our players to have fun and for them to keep coming back to the table wanting to have more fun. That's at the heart of it, and that's why you need to be a good challenge master, and that's why you need to watch these videos in this series, because I'm going to be explaining this piece by piece, topic by topic, and it's going to help you to learn how to make your challenge level appropriate for your players and for your different situations so that your players do have more fun and so they keep coming back for more. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you have, please give us a like. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you would, please put a comment below. Let me know what you think about the idea behind this series, what you think about what I've said so far. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree? About this particular topic, if you have a little wisdom to share, please do in the comments. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.